All right, so today we're going to look over something called flAWS AWS. It was made by Scott Piper to teach people about AWS S3 bucket misconfigurations, which can cause a lot of problems. So there's a GitHub repo called S3 leaks that shows all the S3 leaks from, I think, there's one from 2013. From 2013 all the way to 2020, August 2020 of this year. And why it's a big deal, why you should care about it, is because cloud is a big thing now. So this was announced. So last year there was like all this dispute about this big cloud contract called JEDI, and eventually it just kind of broke down and and nothing really got done from it. But the new cloud contract, which is supposed to be, this article from December 7th is saying 9 billion. I think it will eventually be more than 9 billion, is going to be given to Google, Amazon, Oracle, Microsoft Azure, basically all the cloud companies that want to bid on it and to contribute in terms of modernizing and getting the federal government up to speed on the cloud. So cloud is going to be really important in the next couple of years. It's also going to be really important for people to know cloud security skills. So I thought it was a good idea to let's go over flAWS AWS, and we'll do flAWS 2, and then eventually I have some like Azure and Google Cloud and some other cloud security stuff to go over. All right, so if we get into flAWS AWS challenge, you just go to flAWS.cloud. It's sort of set up like a CTF. It's not like super technical, so you don't have to know like SQL injections and stuff, or any sort of command line exploits. But I'm just gonna be basically going after this using the Kali box I have set up within Parallels on my M1 Max. So let's start. Okay, so level 1 says this level is buckets of fun. See if you can find the first subdomain. All right, so if we start a command line, we can start with so we know the domain is flAWS.cloud. So if we do host flAWS.cloud, we get these IP address. Let's do host again. One of these IP addresses. We see that it says S3 website, right? So that was the hint. It says the level is buckets of fun, so it's probably talking about S3 buckets. So we know this is an S3 bucket. We know it's an S3 website. So if it's an S3 bucket, then we know we can go to, let's see, S3, basically Amazon AWS. And it looks like when we do that, we get an XML file, and we get all this information. And if we scroll, we see S3 LS flAWS.cloud region. Oh, I see what it is. I put East West. Yeah, it needs to be US West. And then let's try that without. So if something is on S3, they always have this s3.amazonaws.com address after it. So what's next? So from there, we can do AWS and try to list the contents of the bucket. AWS S3 LS, and then put the S3 address as flAWS.cloud. Error does not provide access. Let's try with the region. The region is US West 2. Try that. Okay, that doesn't work. It says the access key you provided does not exist in our records. Okay, so the command line usually automatically requests some sort of sign request, or for the user using the command line to sign. So let's try initiating that without a sign request by using the no sign request tag. So boom, when we do that, we can see the same thing from this file that we opened up. So, secret.html. I'm pretty sure you can just get to the next level by navigating to there. Boom. So the problem with this level was that there was no actual configuration for the S3 bucket. There's a configuration. The configuration is just that it allows everyone, and you don't want to configure your bucket to allow everyone. So let's see what's going to be the next issue. Level 2 is at here. All right, so lessons learned. And on AWS, you can set up buckets with all sorts of permissions and functionality, including using them to host static files like web pages. A number of people accidentally open them up with permissions that are too loose. And just like how you shouldn't allow directory listings of web servers, you shouldn't allow bucket listings. And this is especially important, that you shouldn't allow even open these for a short amount of time. There was an S3 bucket leak that happened, I think it was like last year or earlier this year, and it was only open for like 4 hours on the internet. There's always people and bots out there that are basically trying to figure out when is the most opportune time to find free information on the internet that they can use to exploit you or exploit your business. So avoiding mistake, by default, S3 buckets are private and secure when they're created to allow it to be accessed as a web page. I had to turn on static website hosting and change the bucket policy to allow everyone, which is fine if you plan to publicly host the bucket as a web page. But then to introduce the flaw, I changed the permissions to add everyone to have list permissions. So if you see here on the website, it shows that everyone has list privileges, and that's why we were able to use the ls command to list basically all the contents of the bucket. Next level is fairly similar with a slight twist. You're going to need your own AWS account for this. You just need free tier. Okay, so let's take this URL, copy, let's go to our instance and say, okay, so just like how we did the first level, let's try that with this level. We'll do AWS S3 ls, and then like paste that clipboard in there. It's probably going to be S3 bucket. So it said it's similar, so maybe it's the same way. Let's put the region, US West 2 in there, and then let's try no sign request. An error occurred, basically access denied. Okay, so let's do AWS. So I actually configured this already. So if you do AWS configure, you can basically put in whatever you want for the access key and for the secret access key, region, and all that stuff. But I already did that, so I'm gonna do AWS S3 profile. I'm pretty sure I called the profile demonstrata because I'm demonstrating. Yeah, get it? Really funny. Alright, AWS S3 demonstrata. List the contents of this S3 bucket. Copy selection. And oh yeah, we gotta put the region to US West 2. Boom. Okay. So it looks like we found the next secret. Let's copy that selection and try the same thing that we did before. Congrats, you found the secret file, level 3. Alright, so let's digest what the heck we just did there. So the problem with the first S3 bucket was everyone had access. The problem with this bucket is that every AWS user had access. That's why you just had to use an AWS free tier account, and we got the ability to list the contents of the bucket. So let's see. Similar to opening permissions to everyone, people accidentally open permissions to any authenticated AWS user. They might mistakenly think this will only be users of their account, when in fact it means anyone that has an AWS account. So that's bad. Open permissions for authenticated users. Example of like when you configure your S3 bucket and you get into big trouble. So how do we avoid that mistake? Only open permissions to specific AWS users. This makes sense. Like if you have an application, like you should only open up permissions to, you know, your developers, your security team, and like probably make some sort of security group that those people fall into. Or, you know, if you have a very, very small team, then probably you could just use like those individuals. You know, if you have one developer or one security guy, or just you, if it's just you working on your AWS project, you know, why would you go about authenticating groups or a bunch of people when it's just you? Unless you plan to scale, that's a whole different story. So it says the screenshot is from the web console in 2017. This setting can no longer be set in the web console, but the SDK and third-party tools sometimes allow it. So in the world of that we live in, that most companies and softwares now are all using other people's software and all using other people's tools, third-party tools, it's probably very likely that you could have a misconfiguration that you don't know about because you're using a third-party tool. So you look at most businesses right now, like everyone's using, you know, Microsoft 365 and then AWS, and then they got Okta for multi-factor authentication, and they probably got, you know, a bunch of other services for maybe they're using GitHub and GitLab, and maybe they're using a different service for phone calls besides Teams. This level is fairly similar with a slight twist. Time to find your first AWS key. I bet you'll find something that will let you list what other buckets are. All right, let's see what we can do. So let's use our profile. Let's try to go to this next level. So it's credentialed with my AWS credentials, got all that stuff in there. Okay. So it looks like we were able to see the contents. So again, the issue with this level is that it's authenticated for I guess any AWS user to list the contents of the bucket. So what do we have here? We have authenticated users, and we got hints, index, and it looks like we have Git. So maybe that will be useful. So let's see, what can we do? So Git has this function where you can actually like pull up the log of that's actually in basically the log of actions that took place in the Git history. So what we'll do is let's make a directory. I think we'll use the sync function to basically clone this locally. Like this S3 bucket in the US West 2 region to the flAWS directory on our computer. See if that works. So all of that stuff. So let's see, ls, let's change directory into flAWS. Okay, so there's the account, and let's use, since we know there's a .git, file in there, let's use git log, and boom. So we have basically these commits, and one of them says, oops, I accidentally added something I shouldn't have. So this is the most recent one. So basically somebody did a commit at 9:10 and 7 seconds, and then about 30 to 40 seconds later it was like, oh shit. And they're like, let's remove what I did there. So with Git you can check out any of the commits, and that's why you should be careful about leaving your stuff on GitHub publicly, because I've personally found access keys on GitHub just snooping around. So let's check out this. I don't know why it pastes like that. That's probably one of the issues with parallels for me. Okay, so you are in the hatched state. You can look around, blah, 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 blah. All right, ls. Ooh, look at that, access keys. So let's cat access keys. And there we go, we have access keys. Alright, so what we can do is we can, let's do AWS configure profile, and let's call this profile level 3, because we're on level 3. And let me learn how to actually spell things so this can actually work. So copy selection, paste clipboard, and then the access keys, copy selection, paste clipboard, boom. Default region name. You know what? I'm actually just gonna do the US West 2 now. AWS profile level 3 ls. There we go. So this profile actually, so we're on level 3, we're trying to get to level 4. It actually has access to level 4 right here. Let's see what happens when we copy that selection, put it in the web browser, go to it, bam, we got to level 4. People often leak AWS keys and then try to cover up their mistakes without revoking the keys. You should always revoke any AWS keys or any secrets that could have been leaked or were misplaced. Roll your secrets early and often. Examples of this problem: Instagram's $1 million bug. This is a must-read post. A Bug Bunny researcher uncovered a series of flaws, including finding an S3 bucket that had .tar.gz archives of various revision of files. One of these archives contained AWS creds that then allowed the researcher to access all S3 buckets of Instagram. For more discussion on how some of the problems discovered could have been avoided, see the post Instagram's $1 million bug case study. Let's see that. And this is written by Summit Root, which is the author, Scott Piper. I think Summit Root is his company, or who he works for as a researcher. Another interesting level issue that this level exhibited, although not that worrisome, is that you can restrict the ability to list only certain buckets in AWS. So if you want to give an employee the ability to list some buckets in an account, they will be able to list them all. The key used to discover this bucket can see all the buckets in the account. That's why we were able to list all the buckets. You can't see what is in the buckets, but you'll know that they exist, which is still an issue because it's just more information that an attacker can use. Similarly, be aware that buckets use a global namespace, meaning that bucket names must be unique across all customers. So if you create a bucket name, merge it with company Y, or something that is supposed to be a secret, it's technically possible for someone to discover that bucket exists. Avoiding this mistake, always roll your secrets if you suspect they were compromised or made public or stored or shared incorrectly. So rolling your secrets is not using the same access keys for 6 months, a year, forever of your company. Like, you should continually change those. Roll early, roll often. Rolling secrets means that you revoke the keys, i.e. delete them from the AWS account and generate new ones, which will be exactly what I do after I do this walkthrough. I'm going to revoke all the keys that I'm using with my my AWS account, just so I don't get into trouble or end up with like a $500 AWS bill for someone that hacked my account. All right, so level 4. For the next level, you need to get access to the web page running in EC2 at here. It will be useful to know that a snapshot was made of the EC2 shortly after Nginx was so this is what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to ask for a username and a password, and we'll just try admin pass. Let's see, how many times was it? Okay, so if you keep trying, it'll just say 401 authorization required and Nginx. So we know Ubuntu is running on this this EC2 instance. From there, the question is, what can we do about it, right? Funny how that backslash made all the difference. So this is an alias for this EC2 instance. Has an address of, so this is the IP address, and we'll do, so we use profile level 3 that we got. It's not an S3 anymore, so we'll remove this. We'll use the sts command to get caller identity. I love the tab function because it just completes things. Completes me. That's cheesy. Describe snapshots. Snapshots. It'll be useful to know that a snapshot was made of the EC2 shortly after Nginx was set up. So let's use that information, right, to describe the snapshots. And we specify the owner ID. Owner ID as what we just found out. So let's see. Okay, so there's a snapshot. It's not encrypted. There's no description for it, so it's 100% there. There's a snapshot ID. This is probably going to be useful. Copy that. There's a volume ID. It's a backup. And all that stuff. Oh, let's see. What if we ran this function without the owner ID? So this should give us all. It's AWS profile level 3, which is the keys, the access keys that we found in the level 3, and we're going to describe all the EC2 instances snapshots that has access to. So these are all the snapshots that account has access to. Oh, we got descriptions. It's a crap ton. So it looked like it was a backup account when we looked into the account information. Holy crap, there's a lot. Okay, I'm not scrolling. I'm not gonna scroll all that. Describe snapshots, owner ID. Get caller identity. Okay, so when we did get caller identity, it's the ARN said user/backup, so it's probably a backup account. So what do we do now? Now that we know the volume, now that we have the snapshot ID and it's unencrypted, we can probably duplicate that snapshot within our own AWS account. So let's do AWS profile. So I'm going to use mine that I created for this. EC2, to create volume, availability zone. Can't spell availability zone. It'll be in US West 2A, the same zone that the snapshot's in. The region will be US West 2, and then snapshot ID will be I'm pretty sure yeah, that was the snapshot ID. So boom, 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 it created it, and let me check my AWS account, see if it's there. Okay, that makes sense. There we go. So I logged into my AWS account, and there it is. There's a snapshot. Boom. All right. So what can we actually do with this? We probably make our own daggone instance from it. Let's just copy this. Go to instances, and let's launch an instance. And I'll just call it flAWS. flAWS stuff. And we want to, since we know it's on Ubuntu, so I'll just pick Ubuntu, and it's free tier eligible. You don't need to set up any of these thingies. Everything else just stay the same. I'm going to use the key pair that I already have set up, but you can also create a new key pair. And let's see, you don't have to set any of this stuff. You just want to make sure that like it's deleted when it's terminated. Let's see. I don't think it's in there. Advanced. Delete on termination, not encrypted. Okay, so we're gonna add a volume, right? And then this is gonna be, instead of SDB, it's gonna be SDE. Delete on termination, yes. Not encrypted, yes. Snapshot, gonna look for that one. So basically what we're trying to do is, now that we have access to this backup snapshot, we can use the credentials that we gained in level 3, and we can use this backup snapshot to reproduce that snapshot within our own AWS account and get access and just look around to what information, what assets we can get our hands on. Which is unfortunate for the person that made the snapshot. But yeah, that's why you should not do this. Okay, so there it is. Finally. We should be good. Just launch the instance. Boom. Wait for that. Successfully initiated. Great. So let's go back to my Galley box. And what we'll want to do is basically SSH into this. So let me change directory to where I have the flAWS pen. Move flAWS pen into flAWS ls change directory flAWS ls. There's flAWS pen and public IP address. There it is. So copy that. I'm back over here. So in SSH tag I, we're going to use our flAWS PEM file that I created. And like I said, you could just make any PEM file that has access to the instance that you created. I just had one already made. For the user is going to be Ubuntu because it's an Ubuntu box. And we're going to pause. Try that again. Boom. Okay, so we're in. Alright, so now that we are in, can we do ls? No, that doesn't do anything. Let's do ls block. Alright, so these is the contents of that, and I guess the next thing we want to do is like mount the volume that we duplicated, basically. VDE. Let's do that. Okay. LS block. So now it's mounted. Boom. Mounted. So you should be able to change directory into MMT, right? There it is. LS. There we go. Lost and found. System temporary bin. Let's change directory to home. LS. Change directory to Ubuntu. Metadata. Let's cat the metadata. Where we cat the other thing? Let's ls cat setup http password password. So this is probably the user and the password. So I'm gonna try flAWS and then paste the password that we found. All right, so there we go. Level is described at level 5. Lesson learners. AWS allows you to make snapshots of EC2s and databases. The main purpose for that is to make backups, but people sometimes use snapshots to get access back to their own EC2s when they forget their passwords. This allows attackers to get access to things. Snapshots are normally restricted to your own account. So a possible attack would be an attacker getting access to an AWS key that allows them to start, stop, and do other things with EC2s, and then uses that snapshot EC2 and spin up an EC2 with that volume in their own environment to get access to it. Like all backups, you need to be cautious about protecting them. Alright, so level 5. This EC2 has a simple HTTP only proxy. Here are some examples of its usage. So again, this is dealing with EC2. See if you can use this proxies to figure out how to list the contents of level 6 bucket at level 6 that has a hidden directory in it. Okay. So if we click on this, what does it? Access denied. Level 6 is hosted in a subdirectory, but to figure out the directory, you need to play level 5 properly. Clear. And let's curl. That. So that is you're not going to find anything in the HTML code. This is an AWS challenge. None of what we used in other challenges will be helpful here. We use curl. Let's go to that website. Now we can access EC2 metadata from this IP address. So let's copy that. So let's paste clipboard. You know what? Actually, control. Let's do that again. Betrayed by the spaces. Try that. 169.254. 169.254. I think I actually put it in the wrong way. Proxy. flAWS.cloud. Proxy that. Proxy that. Let's try getting rid of this. Proxy that. Boom. Okay. Alright, so now we see all of that. So we can go to latest and greatest. And we see metadata, user data, metadata. Probably the most interesting thing that we should check is IAM, identity access and management. Could possibly get some keys out of this thing. Check info, success, instance profile. Okay, so there's an instance profile. And what was the other one? Info, and then it was security, credentials. Try that one. flAWS. Success. So that is an access key ID and a secret access key. And then that's a token, so we should be able to use this to configure another profile. And copy this in there, paste the clipboard, copy that in there, paste to clipboard by selection, default region, all that. And then we want to go nano into credentials. Basically, we're gonna copy this entire token, copy that selection. So come down here, and I think it's just AWS session token, if I'm not mistaken, equals paste clipboard. Now we exit, AWS profile level 5 that we just created, S3LS. Okay, so this is the bucket. Copy that link. So let's see if we can list the contents of this S3 bucket to put it in the right format. S3 // So that's the contents. What's this? What's that? There's hint 1, hint 2. Okay, so see if you can use this proxy to figure out how to list the contents of the bucket that has a hidden directory into it. Just go into the website. There we go. So flAWS level 6, lessons learned, IP address 169.254.169.254 is a magic IP in the cloud world. AWS, Azure, Google, DigitalOcean, and others use this to allow cloud resources to find out metadata about themselves. Some, such as Google, have additional constraints. So that's pretty much the IP address that we use to get more information on the metadata. If you can make any sort of HTTP request from an AC2 to that IP, you'll likely get back information. The owner would prefer you not to see. So examples of the problem, this guy, Nicholas, discovered that Prezi allowed you to point their servers, a URL to include as content in a slide, and this allowed you to point to the metadata service, which provided the access for the EC2 instance profile link. He also found issues with access to that magic IP with Fabricator and Coinbase. A similar problem to getting access to the IAM profile's access keys is access to the EC2's user data, which people sometimes use to pass secrets to the EC2, such as API keys or credentials. Avoiding this mistake, ensure your applications do not allow access to this magic IP address or any local or private IP ranges. Additionally, ensure that identity access management roles are restricted as much as possible. All right, so this is final level 6. For this final challenge, you're getting a user access key that has the security audit policy attached to it. See what else it can do and what else you might find in this AWS account. Profile, let's call the profile level 6. So we have access key. I'm going to copy that. And we have a secret key. Going to copy that as well. Boom. We can leave the default. Profile level 6. Identity access manager. Get user. Okay, so the username is also level 6. This is the user ID. This is the earn. So how can we look at the policies attached to this name level 6? Okay, yeah, the tag should follow the thing. Okay, so we have my security audit and we have list API gateways. Now we can look up the policy. So AWS profile level 6, and how do we look up policy? We'll get no, not caps lock. Get policy. Get policy version policy arn. Let's look up at this one first. So we can use this policy arn to try version ID instead of version. Okay, there we go. So under this basically security audit policy, this user can take all of these actions, which is a lot. Cloud search, cloud formation, DynamoDB, Elastic, basically. Okay, so in terms of resources, that asterisk is a wildcard, so that basically means they have access to any resource. Cool beans. Let's see what the other one is. The other one was, let's see, the policy was list API gateways. List underscore API gateways, and the version was 4. So there's a person, action, you can get API gateway, effect allow access to this REST API. Okay. List 2 and use our profile level 6, and I'll do lambda list functions. Lambda pass through. So basically, see what else I can do and what else you might find in this AWS account. We can get the policy associated with that. So instead of list functions, I'll get policy. Get policy, and then the function name is going to be level 6. Lambda invoke function, so we can invoke a function. The summer thing we have access to. So AWS region US West 2. We're still using my profile, which is level 6. I'm gonna do API gateway get stages, and then the REST API is where? Thought I was looking at it. AWS source run execute API. Okay. Copy selection. So this is the API ID. Paste clipboard. So stage name is prod for production. And then we can probably just call up the function ps, paste that, and then execute. execute API. Right, so it says execute API US West 2. US West 2, and then we do Amazon AWS.com, and we know it's prod, and it's called level 6. We could have probably just did that on the command line as well. Could have just did cat ATP. Sorry, we did curl. Paste. Nope, that's not the right clipboard thingy. So we need this one. Paste that on the clipboard. And then we put in execute-API. Then we put in the region, which is US West 2. And then we put Amazon AWS.com/prod, because we know the stage name is prod. And then level 6. And then if you ask like why you would do that, it's because that's how the Lambda functions are called in AWS. So basically being able to exploit this sort of vulnerability is done by, what does it say? Moved permanently. Did I put? It should have been HTTPS. Okay, yeah. So knowing information about how AWS works, how AWS APIs works, basically helps you to know what to do in those cases. So it told me to go to this address, and here we go. It's common to give people and entities read-only permissions such as security audit policy, and that works in security compliance, so kind of actually deal with this. The ability to read your own and other IAM policies can really help an attacker figure out what exists in your environment and look for weaknesses and mistakes. Avoiding this mistake, don't hand out any permissions liberally, even permissions that only let you read metadata or know what your permissions are. So that's the end. Congratulations on completing the flAWS challenge, and you can send some feedback here. There's also now flAWS.cloud. Check that out, and remind you if your company is interested in receiving AWS security training, blah, blah, blah. So, all right, that is finito. It was fun, and this is really important because, like I said, in terms of money coming in for the government to get up to speed on the cloud, and then other contractors and companies needing cloud engineers, cloud security engineers specifically. And it was funny, it was like I was reaching out to a buddy the other day that's in California, and I was just asking him about like how security engineering is going, and he said, you know, everything is in the cloud now, so pretty much everyone has to be a cloud security engineer if they're doing security engineering now, just because of how things are structured. So it's a good idea to do exercises like this and just stay abreast and informed on the misconfiguration vulnerabilities out there and how we can deal with them. Learning, figuring out, you know, what those vulnerabilities are, how can they be exploited and attacked, will help companies and environments and startups and everyone just stay more secure by configuring their stuff better. So this was fun. This was for AWS. I'm looking for something for Azure because I just want to learn more about Azure, more. So I think the next video I'm going to do is going to be on some sort of Azure CTF. I heard there's like Azure Goat. So, all right. Thanks for hanging out with me, and wait till the next video.